Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another Lamplight City, our social deduction love. It's not really social, it's just me. Our deduction detective point and click adventure game. I love it. I'm really enjoying it. We just got a case come in. It's nighttime. I just took my sophoratic though. Is that what you say it is? Sophoratic? I think it's so. So who knows? Apparently I've got like an hour to solve this case before I'm just like a bubbling mess of just like sleepy incoherency. I don't know if this means I'm gonna be on
Hello, Upton.
I'm glad you came, Fordham. Sorry for disturbing you this late.
I'm curious to know what's so important that it couldn't wait until morning.
An infant kidnapping in Lyon. The report came in tonight just before my shift ended. The family wants to keep the investigation very low-key. They're afraid if word gets out, they'll have all sorts of ne'er-do-wells making false ransom claims. That's why I suggested they let you investigate first. Head over to 45 Belcourt Street. That's the home of Malcolm and Miriam Harris, the parents of the kidnapped boy.
The parents did it.
Harris? As in Harris Construction Company?
The very same. Owned by Malcolm's father, no less. Now you see why they wanted to keep this out of the public eye.
Indeed. If they manage to get a new transatlantic airship off the ground, it'll be an aura mine. I can see why they'd make an easy target.
Alright. Get the kid back before you can say hot toddy.
Okay, I'm on it.
I don't know about that.
I'll try and find him as soon as I possibly can.
Right. Good luck on your investigation. Come see me again once you figured things out, or if you just need to talk. I'll be here all day tomorrow as well, so feel free to stop by.
Alright, so that makes me think that I'm gonna spend the night, you know, at some point I'm gonna stop for the night or whatever. I don't know quite how this is gonna work, where I'm gonna pass out and get to it the next day. I don't know. Let's go to the Harris residence, of course. That's a distraught looking father. That's
Mr. Miles Fordham is here to see you, sir.
Very good, Mr. Havelock. Send him up.
Yes, sir.
okay.
Good evening to you, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Fordham. I'm Malcolm Harris.
I'm terribly sorry to hear about what's happened, Mr. Harris.
Thank you, Mr. Fordham. You were very highly recommended by Miss Upton. She said you'd be able to solve this faster and more discreetly than the police. I admit it's a rather unorthodox approach, but we're desperate.
I understand. I'll do all I can to find the kidnapper and bring your son back unharmed.
If you'd like to examine the nursery, it's just through that door to the left. I'll ask you to please try and keep quiet as I just sent my wife to bed. Her nerves are rather shot, you see.
Yes, of course.
Alright, well.
I know the hand and waistcoat pose is supposed to look stately, but to me it always looks like the person is scratching themselves.
How do you know they're not?
It's nice to see that tea is still served here even in times of tragedy. I'm sure the only location the Harrises care about is wherever they are at any given moment.
Sure.
I wouldn't get too close, Miles. That vase is probably worth more than your entire building.
I like to check all this stuff out, because you never know.
She looks like she's up to something. The Harris family certainly has a nice view from which to look down upon the world. I wonder if they use the balcony to give speeches to the gardeners.
Well, it's taken around, I mean, we don't know, I don't want to judge these guys. Yeah, they're wealthy, obviously. I'm not sure that means they're evil. I don't think we want to go to the bedroom at this time. I think I'm going to talk to him first to see if there's
I have some questions for you, Mr.
anything he
Harris.
can share.
No doubt you do, but I'm really not in the mood to talk right now. It's been a difficult evening, and I'm not certain I have it in me to answer your questions at the moment.
Fair enough.
All right.
But I will need to ask you about the incident at some point.
Yes, that's fine. Just not now.
Well, alright then. We need to get into that bedroom. Not this bedroom.
A steam-powered bottle warmer. Certainly beats having to do it in the fireplace.
Well, that's
Or in the case of my parents, over a barrel fire.
something.
Be careful not to cut yourself, Miles. I don't think the Harris family has ever seen blood that isn't blue. Interesting. This fabric looks as though it came from a garment of some kind.
That it does.
Huh. There's a small emblem sewn onto the side of this piece of fabric. It just says SS.
Somebody's initials, maybe?
Yeah, could be. Could be.
Probably won't be another year or so before the child gets any practical use out of those blocks beyond putting them in his mouth.
It's a very young
It looks
child.
rather flimsy. Let's not try sitting on it.
It's a flimsy chair.
Look, you can see the balcony extends all the way around the side of the manor.
That would make it rather easy for someone to access this window from the outside.
No evidence of what was used to smash the glass, though.
No. No, there doesn't appear to be. Nothing else that I can see or that's indicated to me here. The fabric, SS, is the big one.
Oh dear.
How wonderful. The soporific has started working. Well done, Fordham. Now how are you supposed to... What's the word I'm looking for?
Instigate? Interrogate? I just had it on the tip of my tongue.
Perhaps it's time to call it a night.
Yeah, let's go.
Well, Mr. Harris, I believe I've done all I can for right now.
Did you find anything?
Yes, I believe I have some leads I can pursue. But the most important thing to do in cases like this is wait to hear from the kidnappers. I'll be back tomorrow morning to continue my
No, it's
investigation.
quite possible
and
there's...
ask you and your wife some questions once you've had time to calm down a bit. In the meantime, I suggest you stay here and get some sleep. Well, I'll need it.
You did well, Miles. Considering you're tripping right now. There might have been things I could have done yet. But I didn't want to risk passing out in there.
Miles, wake up. It's nearly noon.
Ah, so it is.
Why didn't you come to bed when you got home last night?
It was late. I didn't want to disturb you.
So what was so urgent about the case Upton sent you?
I'm trying to track a kidnapped child.
Oh my goodness. That's awful.
Yes, the pressure's on, but I think I should be able to crack it.
Assuming you actually managed to get anything done at the Harris Manor today.
Well, let me know if there's anything I can do to help. Also, we've got company. Mrs. Delacroix is having her hair done here today, so please make yourself presentable.
You mean I'm not all ready?
At least do something about your hair. I do have a reputation to maintain after all.
Okay. Does that mean
What's
I can...
wrong with my hair?
Do you really want me to answer that? We'll be here all day.
Does it actually want me to do something about...
Just how...
Okay. I guess maybe it doesn't actually want me to do something about my hair.
Wouldn't you say it's time for a change of clothes, Miles? You've been wearing that coat for who knows how long.
I'd like to change.
So? Addie gave it to me. Besides, it gives me character.
Right. Brooding detective in a long black coat. That's never been seen before.
What are you talking about, Bill?
Never mind.
I mean, I'd like to change.
That's a fun little apparatus Adelaide got you. Very soothing.
Watching it spin long enough puts me right to sleep.
I'd say that's really more the soporifics doing.
I would too. I guess I'm presentable. I'm not trying to,
And then he said, "Oh, hello there. I don't believe we've met."
Mrs. Delacroix, this is my husband, Miles. Miles, this is Mrs. Delacroix.
Pleasure to meet you, madam.
Likewise, young man. Pleasure.
Is everything all right, Mrs. Delacroix?
Oh, yes, everything's fine. It's just that... Well, you weren't what I was expecting, is all.
Keep your head, Miles. She may be a close-minded idiot, but she's just an old lady.
It's okay. That sounds a little bit rude, and this is her client. That's very rude.
What were you expecting exactly?
Well...
Now then, Mrs. Delacroix, what was it that you were telling me about Mr. Delacroix and his dogs?
Oh, yes. So, Harold came in and said...
Impressive. She got off pretty easy. I was expecting a repeat of the Parsons incident. You should give Adelaide a kiss on the way out, though, just to make the old bat feel extra uncomfortable.
I would love to do that. Yeah. No, I don't. I mean, this is her business. I don't want to mess with that.
Addie?
Not right now, Miles. I'm busy. We
Give her
can
a kiss.
talk once I finish with Mrs. Delacroix.
I was just gonna give her a kiss. Just gonna give you a kiss, babe. Oh yeah, I'm gonna kiss her goodbye.
Goodbye, dearest.
I look forward to your return, my love.
There you go. You can kiss it. Well, I just kissed her, but you can kiss it, Mrs. Delacroix. Delacroix, whatever. Let's get back in there.
Remind me, Miles,
different.
how is finding some rich people's kidnapped baby going to help us track down the flower shop burglar?
Yeah.
I'm not interested in the burglar right now. I want to help these people and get their child back. Or at the very least, help them find out what happened to him.
Right. Well, you'll need your full wits about you if you plan on doing that.
What are you implying?
Yeah.
I'm not implying. I'm flat out telling you. You need to stop taking that soporific. Adelaide has been trying to get you to stop for months, and Upton already suspects something is amiss. Not to mention your little episode last night. Trust me, no one is going to want to hire the dullard detective.
Clever. Did you come up with that one all by yourself?
What are you going to do when the cases stop coming in? How long before you get put away in Riverview?
If I do get locked away, it'll be your fault.
Which is exactly why you need to get back to your normal routine so you can find the burglar.
Yeah. I'm not gonna threaten him with keeping him awake at night. It doesn't mean fine. I'll stop, but it doesn't mean we're gonna find the burglar tomorrow.
All right, fine. I'll stop. But you know that doesn't guarantee we'll find the burglar any sooner.
It doesn't.
Yeah, I'm aware, but it increases the odds significantly.
I'm
Well,
okay with
glad
that.
that's settled then. I knew you'd see things my way eventually.
It's not as though you gave me much of a choice.
In time, you'll thank me. Probably not before the withdrawal hits, though.
Don't make me change my mind on this, Bill.
I'm cool with that. I would have, for the sake of
Mr. Fordham, you're back. Allow me to introduce my wife, Miriam.
Hello.
A pleasure, Mrs. Harris. I wish we could have met under better circumstances, but I assure you I'm doing all I can to find your son.
Thank you, Mr. Fordham.
Mr. Harris, has there been any communication from the kidnapper?
None at all.
Well, I'll have another look around, if you don't mind.
Yeah. So
Miles, didn't you notice something a bit strange about the Harrises?
Quite a few things, actually. What are you referring to?
His son was just kidnapped, yet they're each on their own side of the sitting room. Not comforting each other, not crying together. Nothing.
They're stuck-up rich people. Not exactly the type to show emotion.
Miles, you know I'm the most cynical person there is when it comes to their type. But this isn't normal behavior, even for snobs. This goes deeper than saving face. There's something going on between them. I think you should find out what.
I think you might be right. Huh?
That's odd. Why is there a loose button in the crib? I'm no expert on children, but it seems like it would be dangerous to have around an infant.
I think you're right.
If only the flower shop burglar was as easy to find as this clue was.
Yeah.
Nice mobile. Custom made, too. There'll be no mistaking what family this child comes from.
Airships. I like it.
Yeah, the kidnapper left the child's blanket behind. There doesn't appear to be any trace of the silver spoon, though.
Alright, just make sure there's nothing else here that we're looking for. We've checked that out.
Some sort of fuzzy animal wearing a waistcoat. Charming.
Okay. Should we recheck the window? Let's do it in case we missed something last night.
Look, you can see the balcony.
That would make
no.
Alright. Nothing new there.
Look at that. The kid has a toy chest. My sister and I used to have to keep our toys buried in the backyard. Of course, that is because the only toys we had were dead rats. My friend Bunny. Yeah, I don't know about you, but I wouldn't want a giant imaginary rabbit for a friend.
Worse things.
Bear's picnic. Something about a group of giant human-like bears eating together in the woods is slightly unsettling.
I'll give you that. I will give you that. Giant stuffed animals, the bottle warmer, the crib we've checked out. Let's check
Nice
out the
view
other
of the
window.
garden from up here.
Nothing special there. Trying to look closely. Anything on the ground that we may have missed? It doesn't look it. I'd like to check out the bedroom if they'll let me. But I don't know if they'll let me. We'll find out. Real soon here. Alright, they didn't seem to care much. Can I close the window?
Fancy.
The door?
Some poor servant's probably gonna get a flogging for leaving it in here, though. Who in their right mind would need that many drawers?
How do you know?
Let's see what we have here.
Oh, yes.
A very poorly written letter addressed to Mr. Harris.
Read it.
I don't suppose it's a letter of admiration.
On the contrary, the author seems quite upset.
Mr. Harris, this is your weekly reminder on how much I hate you. Because my wife is dead. My wife was a wonderful woman, and you have taken her from me. I hope you suffer as much as I have. Arthur Devons. Obviously, not an older gentleman, but a gentleman of the age to marry. Not particularly literate, and obviously somebody who has a reason to dislike this family. You've taken her from me. Because of you, my wife is dead.
Painting of the city. Probably the only time the Harris family sees any of the other boroughs.
Nothing else?
Oh, well. Wardrobes are usually always full of wonderfully dark secrets.
Yes, go touch it.
One thing is for certain. Mr. Harris uses entirely too much starch on his shirts.
Okay.
Yeah, it seems like this is where Mrs. Harris keeps her unmentionables. I like the ones with the frills and the stitched cat.
Loud.
Paperwork and receipts. Nothing particularly interesting here.
This is very loud.
More lacy underthings. I wonder which Harris they belong to. Mr. Harris's color selection is almost as drab as yours.
Let's see if there's anything of interest in any of the pockets.
So, Mr. Harris is a fan of the ponies, is he? I'm sure that's not causing him any trouble at all.
Okay. Glad we checked that.
An empty suitcase. I suppose Mr. Harris must travel every now and then.
Case full of the shirts. We checked all the drawers, coats and jackets. Just trying not to get caught.
Oh, another four-poster. The Harris family certainly makes no secret of their wealth. It looks like a pile of women's clothes. Must belong to Mrs. Harris.
Does it?
There's a handwritten note among the clothes.
Miriam, baby, I have to see you tonight. It's been far too long. Oh, boy. Ladies and gentlemen. Somebody blames Mr. Harrison for the death of his wife, and Mrs. Harrison's having an affair, obviously. Is there anything else?
Nothing.
Nothing else hidden among these? I'm glad that they're sitting right outside and not noticing any of this. I want to go back in here real quick. Recheck this.
Yeah, it seems like...
Recheck this one. Recheck that one. Okay. Just in case, I don't know, it was a possibility. I thought that finding that note may open up something else in one of the frilly things, but supposedly not. Who do you want to talk to first? Mr. Harris or Mrs. Harris? Let's talk to Mr. Harris first.
I have some questions for you, Mr. Harris.
Really, we should be speaking in a different room.
Yes, of course.
Tell me everything you can about the kidnapping.
I don't know much. I was out last night while it happened.
Where had you been previously?
I was out with friends. My wife can verify the time I arrived home.
Wait a minute. I know this attitude all too well. This man is hiding something. Most likely from his wife. I doubt his voice is from beyond the grave, so the question is, what's his secret?
I found this letter in your bedroom. What can you tell me about it?
You went through our things?
I'm a private investigator, Mr. Harris. It's part of my job.
Of all the insolence!
You're upset, I know, but do you want me to find your son, or don't you?
Yes, of course I do. That letter was sent to me by mistake. It was written to my father. Well, If you can even call that writing.
Have I ever mentioned how much I hate rich people? Because I really hate rich people.
Your father. Doesn't he own the company building the new airship?
Yes, that's right. He's been receiving many letters just like that one since the Lygia disaster. But that Devons fellow in particular has sent one every week, along with a bag of chicken bones and dust.
How peculiar.
Not only that, he leads a daily protest in front of the construction yard where the HMS Lenore is being built, trying to halt production. My God! How did I not see this before?
See what?
Devons! He has a grudge against this family because of what happened with the Lygia. I'd put money on him being involved with the kidnapping somehow, as a form of retaliation.
I'll just have to speak with Mr. Devons and see for myself.
Yes. I should be more careful with the order which I do this, though, I think. Let's do the stuff that's not gonna upset him first.
Charles is a good boy. Very quiet. Miriam had wanted a child almost from the moment we married. You know how women are when they have their hearts set on something. I saw no need to rush, but...
Nice to know you're not the only one. Hey, Miles.
The first 2 times Miriam was with child, she suffered some unfortunate accidents. She was devastated, as you can imagine. So when Charles finally came along, he turned out to be quite a blessing. I can't imagine what sort of depraved madman would take him from us like this. You must find him, Mr. Fordham.
I intend to, Mr. Harris.
Let's keep talking about himself, torn fabric.
Tell me about yourself.
Button.
There isn't much to tell, really. My life has been fairly well publicized in the newspapers.
Let's pretend for a moment that I skip over the society pages.
Well, I'm an investor. My father Clyde runs Harris Construction Company, which I will someday inherit. Any other details about me are fairly trivial nonsense, I think.
That was really not much, man.
I found this bit of torn fabric by the broken window. Do you know anything about it?
Looks like it came from a piece of clothing. Possibly a jacket.
Did the initials SS mean anything to you?
Maybe? I can't really say. You'll have to excuse me, Mr. Fordham. I've got quite a lot on my mind right now. If I can think of anything, I'll be sure to let you know.
Sounds like he could be hiding something. Button next.
I found this button in your son's crib. Does it look familiar at all?
No, not at all. Do you think the kidnapper might have left it behind?
It's a distinct possibility.
Okay.
How goes the construction of the new airship?
There have been some complications, but nothing we can't handle.
Could you be a bit more specific?
Well, I already told you about the trouble with protesters at the yard, and we're blocked pending Royal Maverick's review of the safety regulations for the prototype etheric diffusion engines. Agitators and red tape aside, we should still be on schedule to have the Lenore finished and in the air by the end of the year. But really, Mr. Fordham, what the deuce does this have to do with finding Charles?
He has a point, you know.
It doesn't matter. I want to know. Because, what do you mean, at what point? Alright. It could have a lot of things to do with finding the child, depending on why it is the child was taken. And not hearing from the kidnappers makes me feel like it may not be a situation involving money or ransom.
Mr. Harris, what can you tell me about these?
What? How did you...
Listen, I'm trying to help you and your family. I can't do it if I don't get the entire truth.
Do you think we could discuss this somewhere more private?
I suppose we could.
Good. Let's move to the nursery then.
Alright. Go. I almost feel like I should have talked to her first. Can I talk to her first? Let's do this.
I have some questions for you if you're up to answering them, Mrs. Harris.
Alright, she's gonna do her best. We're gonna go through all this stuff. I'm hoping that because he's not in the room, I'm afraid that if I talk to him first in there, he might come back into the room and then I can't talk about the handwritten note.
Tell me what you know about your son's kidnapping.
Oh, my poor baby.
Mrs. Harris, I know this is difficult, but I need as much information as you can give me so I can bring your son back.
Yes, you're right. I have to stay strong. For Charles. It happened sometime between 6 and 8 last night. I think both my husband and I had gone out. Charles was in the care of his nanny, Mrs. Davis. I arrived home first, around 8:30, and that's when I found the scene in the nursery, as it was.
And what was it you found?
Mrs. Davis, unconscious in her chair, the broken window, and Charles missing from his crib. Malcolm arrived home shortly afterwards, around 9, and then immediately sent our butler, Mr. Havelock, to notify the police. We stayed up waiting for any contact from the kidnappers, but there was nothing.
Your husband mentioned he was out with friends last night. Where were you?
Oh, I was visiting with some of my friends. We gathered at one of their homes for a concert.
It seems hiding something from your spouse is an activity both Harrises partake in.
Indeed.
What can you tell me about Mrs. Davis?
Well, she's worked for us since Charles was born, a little over 6 months ago.
How did you come to employ her?
Malcolm's mother had a friend whose daughter she used to care for. She came highly recommended. We've never had any problems with her. She's always been a dream.
Where is she now?
In her room, I would guess. With Charles missing, there's little for her to do.
Where might I find her room?
There's a small building just around the back of the manor. Hers is the 4th door from the left.
Cool. I'm gonna do everything before the unwritten note.
Tell me a bit about yourself, Mrs. Harris.
Mr. Fordham, my son, what could I possibly tell you that would make any difference to you finding him?
I suppose you're right, Mrs. Harris. My apologies if I upset you. Can you think of any reason why your son would be a target for kidnapping?
It could be that someone wants our money, or some lunatic who's angry about the new airship. My husband's an investor, and my father-in-law owns the company building it, you see. I just don't know, Mr. Fordham. Frankly, the fact that something like this could even happen is just terrifying.
Alright. Torn fabric, the baby, button, handwritten note last.
I found this bit of torn fabric by the broken window. Do you know anything about it?
No, I've never seen it before. Do you think it was left by the kidnapper?
Perhaps. Did the initials SS mean anything to you?
No. I can't think of anyone or anything I know with those initials.
Tell me about your son.
Charles is our only child. He's such a good boy. Never makes a fuss. Always very sweet. Oh, Charles, you must be so frightened out there without your mother. Oh, please, Mr. Fordham. You have to bring him home.
I'll do my best. I found this button in your son's crib. Does it look familiar at all?
No, I don't recognize it. It looks like it came from some cheap coat. Is that what the ruffian who took my baby was wearing?
That's what I'm trying to determine.
Alright.
I found this note in your bedroom. What can you tell me about it?
What? You had no right to go through my things?
Mrs. Harris, I'm just trying to find your son. The sooner I know about any clues I might find, the faster I can proceed with my investigation.
Fine. I got that note last night from Roland.
Who is Roland?
Roland is a special friend.
I see.
Oh, don't you judge me, Mr. Fordham. You have no idea what my marriage has been like. Marrying Malcolm wasn't my idea, nor even his. The whole thing was orchestrated by our fathers. They thought merging the two families would be a good business arrangement.
Is your marriage an unhappy one, then?
It wasn't easy at first, and it didn't get any easier as it went on, either.
So then, why not end it?
Mr. Fordham, we are a respectable family. There are certain considerations. Besides, I had no legal grounds. For all his faults, Malcolm is a very faithful man. Almost frustratingly so. Then, somewhat unexpectedly, we had Charles. At least that made things bearable.
I'm sorry for you, Mrs. Harris, I really am. But I think I should talk to this Roland.
Why? He has nothing to do with this.
That's for me to decide. Where can I find him?
I don't know. I've never been to his home. We usually meet at a hotel.
Can you tell me anything that would help me track him down?
Well, he's a musician. He plays the piano at some clubs in Gascon, but I don't know which for sure.
How about his last name?
I don't know that either.
I gather you don't talk much.
I refuse to answer that question, Mr. Fordham.
It's a good thing I don't have a stomach anymore, because I can guarantee you its contents would be on the floor right now.
That's all for now, Mrs. Harris.
Very well.
Very well. Very well. I don't know if us bringing him to the other room was necessary for that conversation to happen, but I have a feeling it might have been. And so that's what my thought process was. Let's quickly talk to this guy.
Shall we continue our conversation, Mr. Harris?
Yes, of course.
Now that your wife is out of earshot, tell me about the kidnapping and what these betting stubs have to do with it.
Right. As I said before, it had already happened when I got home. I had just come from spending the evening at the meadows.
I see. I take it your wife isn't impressed by your hobby?
I promised her weeks ago that I would stop going, but I've had such a good streak lately. The last thing I wanted was to upset her further, yet it would be foolish of me to just give up on something so promising.
Okay.
Can you think of anyone who might want to do you harm by taking your son?
Several, I'm afraid.
Go on.
I haven't exactly had the best of luck, Mr. Fordham. That's why this latest streak was so important to me. The truth is, I've gambled away most of my money. I've had to take out several loans so Miriam doesn't get suspicious. If she ever found out, it would be over. I can't lose her, Mr. Fordham. I just can't.
Where have I heard this before? You know, things would be so much easier if people just talked to each other.
I've tried doing business above board, but lately I've had to seek other resources.
What do you mean?
I was forced to visit a lending office. The owner was a rather shady Sambo, but I figured he'd be easier to deal with than the usual sheenies that run those type of places.
Can you believe this guy? Maybe we should just leave the kid be. He'd probably be better raised by wolves.
Who was the owner?
Mr. LeFay. I didn't bother to get his first name. His business is an Abattoir Row in Chumley. Horrid place, but I was desperate.
You think this Mr. LeFay may have taken your son as collateral?
Let's just say there isn't much those type of people wouldn't do to put a crown in their pocket.
Well, yeah, lend
Those are all the
sharks.
questions I had for now.
Dangerous. All right.
If you don't mind, Mr. Fordham, I'm going back to the living room. I don't want Miriam to
Oh,
be suspicious.
yes! Oh, I think we made a very good decision, guys. I think we made a very good decision talking to her while he was out of the room. I think that a lot of other things may have not been allowed to have been said if that was the case. Yes, I think we did that one well. Ladies and gentlemen, let me know what you're thinking so far in the comment section. You guys are detectives yourself. I know we got a lot of detectives among us. Let me know what you're thinking, because I want to pick your brains as well. I'm thinking that this Roland guy is going to be... There's something going on here between the two. I don't think it's going to be as obvious as the loan shark guy. There's something else at play. It might be something as simple as an attempt to break up... I don't even know. I don't know yet. Things aren't as easy as that, though, I don't believe. Alright, guys, let me know what you're thinking. I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.
Yes.